Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Cody. Thank you all so much for joining us. I will be your host for the next hour. Here on Power Prompts, it is our goal to empower you to power through your art block. Every month, we create a theme, and every week, we have a prompt based around that theme. This month, we have a very special surprise month of Power Prompts for you guys, and it is going to be themed Fe-BREW-ary. Fe-BREW-ary. Indeed, we are going to be drawing everything coffee themed, and today's prompt is coffee supplies. If you would like to participate, feel free to upload your work to Instagram with hashtag Adobe Live Power Prompts. And towards the end of the show, we're going to be looking at your awesome community entries. And hello, everyone. Welcome. It has been a while since I have done Power Prompts, not since before the Christmas break. So hopefully I remember how to stream. Hey, Umacorn. Hey, Rob. Welcome. RB Rick. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Annika. I saw Annika earlier, and Robert. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. Today, I have a cow mug. Per every stream, I'm going to show off one of my favorite mugs in my collection, just because it's it's coffee themed. All right, you guys. So we can go ahead and hop over to Fresco. If you would like to, again, if you would like to participate, you can use any kind of medium that you would like. Feel free to use Fresco or Photoshop, or you can do it traditionally if you like as well. So yeah, I started my sketches a couple days ago. I think I kind of just started throwing in some ideas. And I think that the way that I'm going to go about orienting this is I'm going to kind of just piece these things together, kind of in a puzzle piece, almost just kind of shaping them together into this square. And kind of actually, I can show you guys an example. I did something similar to this during Inktober this last year. I did it with the pumpkin pie prompt. So I'm kind of going to be doing something similar like this with our coffee today. And I also want you guys, as we're working with this, I'm going to keep working on the sketches as well, but we might be able to get to coloring today. I'm hoping that we will. And obviously we're going to be working with some browns because coffee, but I also would like you guys to kind of throw in suggestions and kind of vote if you would like on some kind of more colorful accent color that we can use, kind of to work with almost making a little bit of a coffee brand, because we have this little coffee bag and stuff like that. So, and we can put in the accent color on the mugs and stuff like that. So we're going to be working with browns. And so, yeah, go ahead and throw some suggestions throughout the stream of what you guys would like the accent color to be. Until then, I'm just going to be, like I said, continuing to work on the sketches, and we can kind of just throw in suggestions also of what you guys think that I might be missing. Right now we have, we have a coffee grinder and a coffee bag. I drew this cake the other day, and I realized that I probably should have drawn a coffee cake. So I'm going to be changing that up throughout the stream. I'm going to take the strawberry off and maybe give it a little crumble top. I think that would look more thematic. And then also we have a little teapot, a water heater, and then also a pour over coffee. I also have a question for you guys. How do you take your coffee if you drink coffee? And also, how do you make your coffee? Me and CJ, our lovely producer, my husband, we actually have a pour over coffee maker, and it has been so great ever since we got it. I absolutely love it so much. Hey, Steve. Hey, RB. Frank, welcome. Hey, Val. Hello, hello. Katarina, thank you all so much for coming in. Annika says, crumble coffee cheesecake. Wow. I would love some. Thank you. Do you have enough to share with the class, Annika? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start working on this sketch. I'm going to take this little strawberry guy out of here. I don't know what I was thinking adding a strawberry. I think just because strawberries look really cute on cakes, honestly. So we're just going to add this guy in, and let's see. So with a coffee cake, I feel like typically coffee cakes are actually cut into squares instead of wedges. So maybe I should actually, I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I'm going to hide the other one just so we can kind of experiment without worrying about ruining it. And I'm actually just going to make this a square cake instead, like a square piece. And I'm also going to extend these pieces out to the edge. That kind of looks a little bit more coffee cake-ish. Rob says, I've switched to decaf. I'm not happy about it. Pour over is my fave, but brewed works too. Penny says, I'm not picky with coffee. If it has cream or milk, yay. If it doesn't, that's fine. Oh man, I cannot have black coffee. It is way too bitter for me. Okay, let's do like a little crumble top, shall we? Let's do like just adding some little crumbles, some on the sides, and then maybe we'll add some just like little crumble little crumbles on the side there. And then maybe just like some texture on the top. Val says, I used to drink black coffee. Then I tried fancy sweet coffee. Now I like a little bit of coffee with my cream. Would you like some coffee with that creamer? Okay, that looks good. Good enough for now. Kind of looks like a little like coconut topping, which isn't really what we're going for, but it's just the sketch. It's fine. We'll fix it in post, right? Okay. So let's see. I also wanted to edit this water heater teapot a little bit. Just using the transform tools, just going to grab that. And then I'm going down to distort. I really personally love distort. It's my favorite transform tool. And I was so happy when it finally came into Fresco because it was like the one thing that I was missing in Fresco. I love being able to just pull one corner and kind of help even out my sketches, because for me, I have a tendency to like skew my sketches one way. And just by pulling out one corner usually kind of fixes that. And then of course we can also go into the gear and then flip horizontal so we can check our sketch, see how it looks from the other side, and that looks a lot better. Okay. Robert says pigeon milk. Is that an Animal Crossing reference? When he asks if you want pigeon milk in your coffee. Okay. Let's go ahead and start arranging these pieces, I think. I think in terms of focal points, I kind of want the biggest thing to the thing that I want your eye to be drawn to first is going to be the biggest thing, right? So either I would say, since this is coffee based, I probably want maybe the coffee bag to be the biggest thing. Let's try that. And I think I might, let's see, I'm going to grab the coffee bag. I'm going to also duplicate this layer just so we have an extra. I also noticed that I have all of these sketches on one single layer, so it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to move things around because I don't want everything to touch. So I'm going to grab this coffee bag, and since it's facing inward, it's facing to the right. So I am going to just keep it on the left so it's facing into the image rather than away from the image. So if I were to put this on the right corner, right bottom corner, it would be facing away from the illustration. And we don't want that because that's going to cause the viewer's eye to drift away from the image. And we want the viewer's eye to stay within this image. So I'm going to keep this on the left side. Of course, I could also flip this sketch horizontally if I really wanted to, but I think I like the way that it looks this way. Oh, and also, I actually forgot what I like to do. It's just a personal preference. I personally like when I do these kind of like almost flat lays, I guess you could call. I like to have a bit of a border on the outside. So I'm going to just take this ruler tool. Right here down on the bottom left corner is where you can find it. I'm going to take the ruler tool. I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm just going to do the border as the width of the ruler is fine. It kind of just gives me a little bit of a guide. And I try to keep my objects inside of that guide. Okay, turn the ruler back off. And now I can go ahead and I'm going to grab this coffee bag again. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, I think. And I'm also going to have it touch right up on that guide. The lines are touching. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to keep it that same size. Okay, so where are we going to put our coffee cake? Let's see. I think I might move our coffee cake, might make it, turn it a little bit, and I might just stick it maybe like off-centered a little bit, like here. Clever says, off to brew some tea. Be right back. Oh, absolutely. If you would like Fe-BREW-ary to be about tea, feel free to do so. Valder, hi, welcome. How are you doing? Good to see you guys. Annika says, such a good tip for composition. Yeah, absolutely. We can actually take a look back on my other one that I did for the pumpkin pie one that I did. Let me turn off this sketch because it got turned on. I don't know if I have my guides, but I did have, I don't know if I still have that layer. But I did have a guide layer at one point. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Can turn on the opacity a little bit more. As you can see, I had the guides actually for this one, where I had my my objects inside the guides rather than touching the guides. So it kind of gave it a little bit bigger of a border for this one, because I wanted my guides to be like the white space. But for this next one, we're going to be having a smaller border around the edge. But basically what I did is I just took these guides and I shrunk them down inside of that white space. And I used the same guides to kind of piece my objects together. So you kind of want to place the biggest things first. So you want to kind of go biggest to smallest because you want to be able to save space for those big objects. Basically we're going to go like the next two things that we're going to place are probably going to be the pour over coffee maker and also the coffee grinder. But I don't necessarily want them all to be the same size, right? Because you want to have like kind of variation of big, little, medium. So I am going to make sure, for one, that this coffee grinder is not necessarily the same size. The majority of it isn't the same size as the bag. So I am going to, let's see, I might actually flip this because I was thinking about having it on this side, but because of the handle that's kind of sticking out on the right, I don't really want to do that. Because I don't want it to exceed my guides that I have. So I'm just going to flip it horizontally. And now it can line up really nicely against this right wall here. And what I'm thinking, since we have that negative space up in that very top right corner there, I might move this down and give it a little bit of extra space. So then we can come back and grab maybe one of these coffee mugs to fill in that extra gap. It's kind of all about just trial and error, you know? Oops. Let me highlight that one more time. Whoops. Trial and error and kind of just like shifting things, moving things around. I'm going to distort this with that transform tool just to kind of balance it out a little bit. And I think I might make this a little bit bigger, and then I think I also might get rid of the little steam thing that I have on there. Just make it a little bit bigger like that. And then maybe I'll keep the steam, but I'll put it on our other mug. Just move it right here for now. Keep that asset. And also, don't forget to save your work. Of course, Fresco auto saves on the cloud, but just to be sure, just to be safe, I always like to save, do a hard save every once in a while. Don't forget. Thank you all so much for joining, everyone that's coming in and out and lurking and talking in chat. Really appreciate you being here. Okay, so I think, again, like I said earlier, I'm kind of just like randomly placing these, just kind of trying to figure out where they're going to fit in nicely with each other, where their natural shape kind of fits in, like I said earlier, kind of like a puzzle piece. And even if you like get like you put an object in a certain spot and you think that that's where it's going to be, you might end up shifting it around. So that's what we're doing here. Like with the coffee cake, I had placed it here earlier, but I think I'm actually going to just like shift it down a little bit, maybe size it down a little bit as well. And then also, let's see, I think I might move the pour over coffee pot, might make it a little bit smaller. You know, maybe actually in terms of real life sizing of things, the pour over coffee pot would technically be the biggest thing. So maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll keep the focal point as the coffee maker, and then we'll have the, oops, I forgot that this is on the same layer. So I have to move it separately. I'm going to move this guy again. I'm going to size him down a little bit. And again, I'm going to put it right up on that edge of the guideline there. And then let's grab this coffee bag. And maybe we'll size him down a little bit. And maybe we'll just stick him like right here for now. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome. How are you doing? Good to see you. And you also, I was talking about big, little, small earlier. Big, little, small, big, medium, little. And so when you're coming up with the objects that you want to use for like a flat lay like this, you want to keep that in mind. So like I said, so you're going to be placing the big objects first, and then kind of like those medium objects like our mugs and our coffee pot, and our coffee cake. And then also you want to make sure that you have small objects too, like these coffee beans, because the coffee beans, the really, really tiny objects, are really great for space filler. So if you feel like, oh, there's like a lot of gap, there's a lot of like too much breathing room between these two objects, but at the same time, not enough to actually put a new object there, that's what those really small objects are great for. So like, for instance, I might even throw in like a coffee bean like right here just to fill in that space. Because again, like a mug might not fit there, but it's also too much space, in my opinion, for my personal taste, to just like leave it blank, because it's a little distracting. So I think I'm gonna grab this spoon next. Another thing about objects, like if you're working with, not only do you want to place big objects first, but you also want to place long objects first. One of the first things, just because you want to make sure that you keep enough space to place that object. So I think I'm gonna actually put this guy, maybe I might angle him actually. I might angle him like this. Right here up on this corner. Oh, but actually, let's angle him in again, so he's facing into the illustration. The head of the spoon is like the face of the spoon, so you want the face of the spoon facing into the illustration so it keeps the eye moving within the illustration. Okay. And let's turn off our guides too and make sure that we can see what we're working with here. So yeah, so we can't necessarily clearly see our lines yet, but again, we can work on that by filling in those gaps as we go. Hi, Barbara, welcome. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so I am going to, I think I'm going to grab this mug here. Again, if you guys, I would love if you guys would put in some suggestions. Once we get closer to finishing this composition, we will go right into coloring. So I would love to hear your guys' suggestions for an accent color for this, because we're going to be working with browns and tans maybe. So any color that you think would go well with that kind of color palette would be great. Would love to hear your suggestions for that. So I'm going to stick this guy maybe here for now. Again, don't be afraid to give your object some breathing room. I have a tendency to be afraid of white space, even though I prefer my artwork with white space. Sometimes it can be hard to like have that self-discipline to allow that breathing room. CJ says desaturated green. Clever says golden bronze, yellow highlights. Ooh, Annika says desaturated blue. Val says turquoise. Those are all really great suggestions. Honestly, a lot of colors go well with brown. Aqua. Okay. Let's go. Actually, oh shoot. I realized I moved this mug over top of my coffee beans. I really should have drawn my objects on separate layers. Do as I say, not as I do. Everyone, don't forget to draw your objects on different layers, because it's easier to move them around the canvas without having them intersect. Let's move these coffee beans up here. And then let's move this mug back down. And I think I also want to flip this mug the other way. Oops, not vertically, horizontally. Just because we have this mug on the top right with the handle on the right side. So I think that I would want this mug to kind of change it up a little bit, to make it look a little bit more natural, to have this mug on the handle on the left side. So it's not so samey, you know. Okay, so we got this coffee cake's kind of fitting in nicely there. And it looks like we also have some space going on for this teapot still. Again, let's move these coffee beans out of the way. Oh yeah, CJ put my color palette trickery in chat. I don't use blue. My palette, I typically, any blue that you see in my artwork, if you're familiar with my work, if you're not, feel free to check out my Instagram. It's just at Codi Bear. You can kind of get an idea of the other past work that I've done. But the only blue that I have in my palette is here on the top row of my saved swatches here, which is kind of like a periwinkle blue. But those, if down below on the lower levels, they look like blue, but it's actually pretty much pure gray. But because of the color relativity with how warm my palette is, it actually ends up looking blue compared to the other colors. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this guy. Flip. Oh, nope, not the canvas. Nope, don't want to do that. There we go. Go into object select and then flip. And also, guys, don't be afraid to get rid of some objects if you feel like it doesn't actually fit in your composition too. You know, you might feel like, oh, well, you might feel attached to it, you know, like, oh, well, I spent so much time sketching this, I need to put it in. That's not necessarily the case, and sometimes your composition can benefit from from you not including all of the things that you drew. So, you know, we might feel that way too as we continue to go along. Or we might be able to shift things around and maybe we can find a better place for it. Because I was actually thinking that this teapot would go nicely here, but then at the same time I was thinking, oh, I don't want the teapot facing outside the illustration, and I think that that's more important to adhere to than finding the right spot for the teapot. So I'm gonna have that prioritized in my head, and I'm gonna flip it this way. Or if I had it on this side, I'd flip it this way. It kind of fits in this spot, actually. If we were to just like shift things around slightly, like if I could move this guy, like this steam kind of fits nicely. Just have to move things around slightly. I might move the spoon up to the left side, maybe. Let's try that. I'm gonna save that guy right there. And I'm actually going to, you know what I should do is I should just copy. I'm gonna click on that layer that I'm on right now, and then I'm gonna press duplicate selection. So now that spoon that we were working with is on a separate layer finally. So now we can just go ahead and erase that selection. So now that spoon is on a separate layer. Okay, let's go ahead and move our spoon friend. Might make him a little bit bigger. I'm gonna have him right up against that guideline there. Okay, and now I'm gonna do the same thing for the teapot. We're gonna click on the layer and go duplicate selection, and now we can move him right on down here. And what I can do, I'm gonna deselect, and then I'm gonna select this once again on this other layer, and then I can just go ahead and delete it since we made a copy. Erase. Okay, deselect. Now, what I think I want to do is, since this steam here is kind of, you know, it's intersecting with our coffee grinder, I think I'm just gonna tilt it a little bit so it kind of like fits in. Oh, look at that. Look at that. We have a nice puzzle piece fitting right here. I'm gonna zoom in on that. Accidentally. Happy accidents, you guys. Look at this. So we have this angle right here, and it kind of just nicely situates right there. I might even make, let's see, let's make it even more so. I'm gonna grab this steam again, and I'm just gonna use distort, and I'm just gonna stretch it up like this. I'm gonna make sure I'm still keeping that breathing room. So I'm just gonna stretch it up just like that. And then we're going to move this coffee cake over here. Might be able to fit it in somewhere nicely. Maybe I'll fit it in. Because we have this little crumble here on the right side, I might move our mug down. It's coming together, friends. It's coming together. I'm gonna move our mug down, and I'm gonna move that steam as well, because that doesn't really fit very well there. I'm gonna flip that. And then I'm gonna move our coffee cake friend, maybe like right here, so that that crumble kind of fits into that steam space. And then with this empty space right here in between the mug and the crumble cake, we can add in, like, again, like I was talking about, those fillers, like maybe a coffee bean or something. Hey, Stephen, welcome. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to move. Have any of you in chat ever made one of these like types of flat lays before? I personally really enjoy it, especially for prompts like this where it's like a prompt of multiple things, or like for instance, I really love doing a flat lay like this for like baking or cooking, because like you can lay out the ingredients and it's kind of fun to be able to see all of the ingredients like laid out on the illustration. So I kind of tend to gravitate towards these types of things. But yeah. Or you could even do like a still life too. And that's actually a couple of the community entries today were like still life illustrations, the compositions. They were really lovely, which we will get to in about 20 minutes. Okay. So I think I'm going to make this coffee bag a little bit bigger so we can, because we actually ended up having a little bit more space here than we initially anticipated. Cool. Okay. So we got something there. Let's copy this layer just so, oops, duplicate layer, just so this coffee cake is a little bit darker. Cool. Okay. We're getting somewhere, friends. I'm going to turn our guides off just so we can see what we're working with. Okay, so turning your guides on and off is actually really helpful because, for instance, it can show me exactly if I am being successful in creating that kind of illusion of a square. For instance, again, if we go back to my pumpkin pie one, these illustrations don't actually have a line around them, but because of the way that they're oriented, you can see that it's like a perfect square. And the way that I was able to do that is to make sure that at every point on each side, something is touching the edge. So what we're missing on the right side, like down here on this corner, for instance, we're missing something touching the corner guide, like here and also here. We need something to be touching that wall in those two spots to be able to show that there's a guide right there. So basically what I'll do probably is I'll put like a coffee bean or two in those places to be able to kind of make that imaginary line continue down the whole illustration. So let's turn our guides back on. Yeah, so definitely like, let's grab one of these coffee beans. Maybe I'll grab both of these and we can place these guys maybe like right here. So that coffee bean is butted right up against that line right there. And then I can copy. I'm going to duplicate selection. I'm going to bring another one down here. And we're going to go right into that corner there. So now that space is filled out, you can kind of imagine that line that continues all the way up here. So you're kind of getting a little bit more of a sense of that square. Steven says you can never have too big of a bag of coffee. 'Tis true. Okay. I am going to save my work once again. And let's see, what other fillers could we have? I could do like another small spoon or something. Or, do you guys have any suggestions for coffee supplies that I'm missing? I could do like a little jar, a jar of like sugar or something, like maybe something like this, like a little jar, maybe. of sugar that might be cute. Sugar like that. Something like that, maybe. And I'm gonna make this a little bit thinner, and I'm also going to distort it. Kind of make it a little bit straighter. The sketch isn't very even, but that's fine. And I can also go in here and move this coffee bag over a little bit. Just going to use my little arrow keys here on the left to just kind of shift this over to the center that we got going on. Okay. Let's see. Let's turn the guides back on. And I might actually move this coffee bean up. Oops. Let's go back to our sketch layer. Yeah, let's move this coffee bean up to the line again, so we have that coffee bean touching that imaginary line. And I'm going to duplicate this layer. Duplicate layer. And I'm going to put this coffee bean here. Oh, a coffee filter. That's a good idea, Rob. I didn't think about that. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to move this here just a little bit. And I am going to also, I'm gonna merge this layer down, and then I'm gonna duplicate that layer. Oh, I do not want to merge those two down because they are not near each other. So I'm just gonna duplicate this layer. Duplicate selection. We're just copying and pasting some of these coffee beans that I made earlier. No need to like redraw every single little thing. Like, please feel free to copy and paste the objects that you've already created, especially because, for one, you've already drawn it. Don't worry, it's not cheating. Two, we're also going to be coloring over top of the sketch later. So you can, if you're afraid of something looking a little bit too samey and you want to have that hand-drawn look, you can add those like little tiny changes in the coloring phase. And everything for me, when I copy and paste it, it ends up looking different anyway, and I don't even try. So save yourself some headaches, save yourself some time. Don't worry about copying and pasting your objects. Okay, let's turn our guides off again. We're getting pretty close here. I think because we are almost out of time, we're getting there. We got a little bit of time left. Since we're almost like getting close to finishing the composition, I think I'm gonna start just the coloring process just so you guys can see. And I think I'm also, let's see, I'm gonna grab one of these coffee beans once again, and I am going to put it on our little coffee bag here. And I'm also going to, I am not very good at hand lettering, so I'm just going to hand write it. That looks really bad. It's totally fine. But I am going to go ahead and just make a new layer over top of this. And I am going to grab typically my favorite coloring brush that I use is by Kyle T. Webster. It's called Conte Crayon. And if you would like to download any of Kyle's brushes, feel free to just open the brush menu in Fresco, go to all brushes, and then go down to add more brushes, discover new brushes. And then all of Kyle's packs will come up for you to be able to download, and all of his brushes are free with a CC sub. The Conte Crayon brush can be found in his mega pack. And then the sketch brush, if you guys are wondering, that I use is just the default pencil on Fresco. One of my favorites. I really wish the default pencil was in Photoshop too, but I've heard that it has like a very specific engine where it actually like generates a new texture. It's not like a stamp brush. It's a very specific brush that kind of like only works in Fresco. So it's very nice. I really like it a lot. Anyway, I am going to start with this coffee bag, I think. Let's see. I'm going to lower the opacity. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and merge all of these layers down. Let's go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to merge all of these sketch layers. I know I did this one by one, and I don't know why, but it's fine. It wasn't really working for me. Okay, I'm going to lower the opacity of this bag here, and let's go ahead and go in my colors. I'm going to go to favorites because Conte Crayon is in my favorites. There it is right there. And basically it just kind of looks like what you would think it would look like. It looks like a crayon. Kind of feel like I'm drawing in a coloring book when I use this, honestly. So I am going to use, let's go for like a craft paper bag, maybe like that kind of look. I'm going to take this color, I think, or maybe like this color. I'm going to lighten it and desaturate it a little bit to kind of get that craft paper brown look. And I kind of have a tendency to try to stick with a smaller brush, although I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just so we can save time. There we go. I tried to stick with a smaller size brush just so we can have a light hand, and it allows that crayon texture to show up inside of the solid color here within our object. As you can see, all of this white that's showing up in the coffee bag, which is very nice. And it kind of, again, it gives it that look like maybe like a little kid might have drawn this. And it also kind of gives it a little bit more of a traditional look as well. If you notice, as I'm coloring, I'm actually coloring around the label instead of coloring over top of it, because it changes up my brush strokes, and it is visible even in the final illustration. So it kind of gives that illusion that it's more traditional than digital. Because when you're working traditional, you only have one layer. Although I don't work in one layer, I kind of try to give the appearance that I work in one layer. So I'm going to take that coffee bag, and what I'm going to do, if you notice that I colored over top of the entire bag, but I want the side of the bag to be a little bit darker because it would be in shadow. It kind of add a little bit more of dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the layer. I'm going to click on the layer, and I'm going to go to lock transparency. I would do that actually if I wanted to do it on the same layer. So if I wanted to, I could go to lock transparency. I could make this saturated, make this darker, and I could color inside of this shape that we've already created like this, but it would be on the same layer. And we want to be able to edit it if you know, if I change my mind, if I don't like the color that I used, what have you. So what I'm going to do instead is I am going to make a new layer over top, and then I'm going to go down to on the left side menu here, right in the middle, there's a little drop down arrow with a square around it, right in the middle. I'm going to click that. So now our new layer is a clipping mask. So now I can go ahead, I'm going to lower this opacity just so we can see our sketch underneath. Make sure you're highlighted on that clipping mask layer. And I am just going to color right over top of that shape that we already drew. And I don't even need to worry about adding texture or anything because it's only going to stay inside the pixels that we already drew earlier. So really useful. I'm going to raise this opacity back up. Now we have a little coffee bag. Okay, 5 minutes until community entries. I am going to, let's see, let's test out a few colors. I made a new layer. I'm gonna add in, actually, no, you know what? I think I want to do more of a beige color for this label. And then maybe we'll add in like that accent color on top of it. Maybe we can give like a little border or something. Maybe like the little clips on the bag can be the accent color. Kind of keeping most of it pretty neutral looking. Turn our sketch off, see what we got. And then let's make a new layer over top of that. And I'm going to lower the opacity of our bag here so we can see the sketch underneath. And I can actually make this a clipping mask. Oops. And I'm going to grab, maybe we'll grab this like green color. I think green was suggested earlier. And since we did this on a clipping mask, like I was stating a minute ago, we can go ahead and edit that color if we don't like it. So yeah, so all of our layers are back up to 100%. So I could go on here. I'm gonna make a little border on our label like this. So that border is on a separate layer. So I'm gonna go in here and lock transparency. And then we can also just go around and color right on top of that and just try out different colors. I'm gonna lock transparency. Yeah, so it kind of just like changes the whole look of it. And maybe a blue. I personally really like experimenting with colors like this. Lock transparency and clipping masks are some of my best friends when it comes to my artwork. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a hard time picking colors right off the bat without changing them. Like usually the colors that I start with are not the colors that I finish with. I kind of like the yellow. The gold is nice. It's warm. Or maybe this like really light mint color could work too. I don't know. It's kind of cute. Ooh, okay. My throat's dry. Let's make a new layer over top of that. I'm going to lower this opacity. And I'm going to grab kind of more of a chocolate brown so we can color in this coffee bean. Make my brush a little bit smaller. Annika says, oh, same. I used the adjustments layer so many times. Fun fact from my community entry, it was originally monochrome purple. Oh, really? So you changed it up quite a bit. We are actually going to be checking that out here in just a few minutes. I accidentally drew that coffee bean on the wrong layer, as always. Okay, I'm going to move this guy down a little bit. And then I'm also just going to lock transparency. We're going to take this color, I'm going to darken it and saturate it. And then we're just going to make our little coffee bean line right down the middle like that. And then I might even take that same color and just write coffee to the best of my ability. That looks a little better. That's all right. It's all right. I'm gonna move it down though, because there's kind of a lot of space going on. Let's just move that friend down a little bit and squish it. There. Something like that. Let's turn our sketch off. And there's our little coffee bag. Maybe I'll give a little bit of filigree. That might fill in the space up here. Something like that. I don't know. Doesn't have to be super detailed. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna grab this lighter color that I used for the bag. I'm gonna lower the opacity, turn our sketch back on, and I am going to go ahead and color in our little outline details here, and then I'm gonna take that darker color. I kind of like to use the lighter and darker colors opposite of each other whenever I'm doing like details. Add in some of those just little hash marks and things, kind of just to simulate texture on the bag itself. There we go. Something like that. It's almost time for community entries. Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, at least we got to color something. I think that this composition turned out pretty cute. I'm gonna continue to fill in with you know, smaller objects, maybe some more coffee beans and stuff, but I think it's going in a really nice direction. So thank you all so much for working with me on this. Okay, let's head on over to community entries. I'm going to pop on over to Instagram, and we just have a few entries to go over today. Awesome entry from Secret Beauty Drawings. They do little comics for like every single power prompts, I think. I could be wrong, but it's felt like they've done a comic for so many power prompts, including like the majority of my Inktober list from last year as well. So I just love all of their little comics and their little characters. I think they actually just recently made an actual account for their comics. So if you guys want to check out their work, the Secret Beauty Drawings on Instagram, super cute. And I love the little black cat and the little conversations that they have between their characters. It's really adorable. So thank you all. Thank you so much for your entry. Really appreciate it. It's really beautiful. This next one is from our very own highly esteemed moderator, Annika. So as she was just saying a few minutes ago, so this whole illustration actually used to be monochrome purple, which is really interesting. I actually just love the like the minimalism in this. Like I don't know if you looked at a bunch of reference of minimalism, but Annika, I think you pulled it off really well. And the coffee bean accent on the little flower pot right there, like the vase. Yeah, it's just beautiful. And then also it has like a bunch of the line work really adds a lot as well. It kind of almost makes it look like everything look like glass. Yeah, it's really nice. And I love all the little sparkles also kind of like draws your eye up and around the illustration. It's really beautiful. Yes, as Val said, feel free to post your entries on Instagram with hashtag Adobe Live Power Prompts, and that's how I found my entries for today. We have lots of entries over the past like 6 months, I think, that this show has been running, and it's just so fun to see everyone's entries over time. And Kaylee Mills, also a really awesome follower, really beautiful work. I actually really love the textures that they used in this illustration as well. It's kind of like, it almost kind of feels like it's made out of parchment. Like it's really a really nice kind of gritty texture, again, with really beautiful solid line work. It looks like they used like an inking, a digital inking brush for that. It kind of has some nice different line weights to it. And also the blue and orange and yellow complementary colors look really, really great together. Kind of like kept the palette really minimal, but at the same time, really nice and complementary. Yeah, it kind of, again, like it's really nice where your work kind of like it almost like starts at, there's a couple of places that I look like it starts at the coffee pot and then kind of goes around and then back up with the flowers. And then again, it draws your eye back down to the pot and around. So it's a really nice composition. Really beautiful. All right, you guys. Well, those are our 3 entries that we have for today. And again, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for joining me over the course of the past like lifespan of power prompts as well. This was kind of like a last minute month of power prompts that wasn't necessarily supposed to happen, but it's a really like fun surprise that it did. So thank you all so much for watching, and we will have 2 more episodes of power prompts for this month's theme coming up in February. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.